there. I think that's should be close enough. My head is in the screen. And now let's just find it. Turn some lights on. That's light 1. That's light 2. And there it is. There, I can hear myself. That's good news. Let's just make sure. I feel like this has got more of the ceiling than necessary. Okay, alright, now I can hear myself, so I'm turning off the speaker because that's just not helpful. It's just an echo. Annoying echo. Right. I feel like that. Where do you put it? It's like the pom-pom to the side, or is it behind? I know it definitely is annoying in the front. I feel like to the side is the suitable place for a Christmassy hat. Pom-pom to the side. Just slightly out of balance. I'm just going to wait just a few minutes, guys, just for people to fill up the room. I know I can just put this stream up, and it's going to run. My plan was 5 to 20 minutes. 5 to 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, something like that. And I will answer questions after, as I normally do. So, yeah, we'll give people just, I don't know, 30 more seconds, and then we're just going to get started. Because there's other things to do in the day, right? And more than a few people, I imagine, are about to go to sleep, or they've just got home from work and they need to eat food and stuff like that. Okay. I have notes. Fortunately, I made sure to do notes. It's always important. Right, I think that's 2 minutes in, and I've done enough fiddling around, so let's just get on with it. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm not necessarily talking about Dungeons & Dragons 5e. What I want to talk about is quick preparation. So this is a Dungeon Master workshop. How do you prepare really quickly? So for this particular video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you not with my technique, but with somebody else's technique, and then I'm going to give you my technique for quick preparation. So you're going to get 2 methods out of the one video. So first I want you to look for a guy called Sly Flourish. I keep talking about Sly Flourish, or Mike Show. He's pretty good, and he has some steps for really quick preparation. And I'm going to go over them. I will provide a link to his website so you can go and look at it and read it for yourself and take whatever you need from it. I'm pretty much going to cover everything that he's talked about, plus additional information. So I want you to break down your preparation onto a 3x5 index card. So that's just 3 inches by 5 inches and nothing else. You're going to write everything on that particular card, and you're going to break up that card into 3 sections. That's it. 3 sections, nothing else. There's only 3 questions you need to answer. And the first question is, where does the adventure start? Now that could be an adventure hook, or it could be a location. You just have to decide where it's going to start. Now you might have already run some sessions and you're already into the adventure, so you're just picking up from where you last finished. So you just need to make a note of where you last finished, at what point they are in the story, and during the events, or if there's a particular thing that's happening at that time. So that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what scenes will the adventure have, or most likely to have during the adventure? What things are going to take place, or might take place, or that the players' characters might do? Really what you're trying to do is predict what your players will do. So you go for the things that you're more likely to be tried compared to anything else. Now that could be combat, but usually this is going to revolve around something other than combat. It's going to be more about social interaction, key events that might take place, places they might be able to go to, things like that. So break it down into that. So we're just trying to deal with the key scenes. So that's question number 2 answered. Number 3 is, what will the characters discover? What secrets, what things will they have to explore or find during your adventure session? Now we're only preparing for one adventure session. We're not preparing for multiple. we're only dealing with one session. That might be 1 hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours. If you're dealing with 8 hours, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. But this is supposed to be just quick and fast. Now there's a couple of things you need to understand about this particular method. It's very quick, it's very fast. It takes about 5 minutes and you're all done. But it assumes quite a lot of different things. So I'm going to go through those really quickly. It assumes that you have a monster manual, whether that's a Dungeons & Dragons 5e monster manual or some sort of bestiary of some kind. It doesn't matter, but it assumes that you have some sort of document or book that has all the monsters available to you easily. Does that make sense? Cool. Next, it assumes that you have a location already picked out or a map. Whether you've drawn that map or it's already part of an adventure, it doesn't matter, but it assumes that you have the location and map already as part of your preparation. It also assumes that you're using a pre-made adventure. It's very hard to quickly prepare something if you're creating your own material. You can, but it tends to assume, Mike Show tends to assume that you are using a pre-made adventure when you're doing quick preparation on a 3x5 card. Next, you should have information on the non-player characters or NPCs. It assumes that you have that information either in the adventure book, or you have already taken a few quick notes, or at the bare minimum you have a character name, an NPC name, and the rest you're just going to make up as you go. So it assumes that as well. It also assumes that there's no combat information on your card. Your preparation doesn't include combat. That information will be in the adventure that you're using or running. So you don't need to write notes on combat on your 3x5 index card. Don't worry about doing that at all. Now that's basically the gist of it. That's how Mike Show or Sly Flourish does his quick preparation. And as I said, I will provide a link to that particular article. Now, method 2. Method 2 is, I could say it's my method, but that would be lying. Okay, right now, it's actually my method that I've adopted from Chris Perkins. So Chris Perkins, as you know, is pretty famous. What I like about Chris Perkins is he breaks it down into the really key bits of information and he puts it on one page. I use a A4 photocopy paper. That's it. You could use a refill page, it doesn't matter, but A4 size, that's what I want. That's what you're going to start with, rather than an index card for our second method. Now, Chris Perkins did an article years ago explaining how he did this and provided a sample, which I thought was really, really impressive. So I've taken his particular method and adapted it to my use. So the first thing is a title. I usually give it just a couple of words as a title. Mainly the title is just to remind me what's likely to take place or what sort of adventure it is or how I'm going to sell it to the players. It's just so I don't get confused with all my little bits of paper. If I don't give my preparation a title, then I don't know where I am in my preparation, and if I have a whole bunch of these bits of paper hanging around, I can get very confused. So that's why I always give it a title. Next is, it only has to be a couple of lines, is the adventure hook. Now it could be an adventure hook to lead you into your adventure if you're starting off into your first session, or it could be an opening scene continuing on from the last session that you were running, or it could be just a goal or goals that they could or might be able to achieve during that session. It could be any one of those four things: an adventure hook, okay, an opening scene, a goal, or a couple of different goals if you want to have multiple goals. Now when you focus on your adventure hook or your opening scene, that particular part, I usually make a note of which character in the party I'm going to focus on. Usually I treat my games a little bit like a TV series, an episode. So each character gets a session where I will try to focus on them. So I usually try to make a note of which character it needs to link into. And that can be very helpful. You don't want the adventure to be necessarily about every single body at the table all the time. That can be quite hard to actually do. So sometimes I just focus on one or two people at the table for each game session. Next is locations. between 4 and 6 locations, and usually I'll write down what sort of location it is. I'll provide a description and any other information. Now each description and location information takes up 1 line. So in total that's 5 lines of text. So it might be something like castle, and I'll put notes down, rundown, moss, vines. I might make a note of how many rooms or locations are in that particular castle, and that would be 1 location. That's how I would break it down. I might even make a note if there's a treasure to be found in a particular location within that castle. Does that make sense? So I'm breaking it down into locations, and that's just one example of how to do that. Okay, next is my non-player characters. Now I usually have between 5 and 6 non-player characters, and each one will take up a line, just like the location section. Okay, so I will have a name, and then beside the name a description of that character. I don't use linking words in any of my notes. I don't go and, but, There's no linking words. It is just note form, literally to reduce the amount of work and also the amount of time it takes to put it together. This technique takes more than 5 minutes, I'll tell you that now. So it might be a name like Herbert, and Herbert is maybe the owner of a store, and I would provide a bit of information on it. Herbert is balding, maybe he's got a mustache, and he sells general goods. And I might put down like a personality trait, so I know sort of how to play that character, and I'll just say, okay, he's a bit of standoffish, but he likes to sell at an inflated price, or something like that. So basically, it's very, very simple information. When you're dealing with your NPC, it's really a name, your description, and a little bit of key information. You can use the information that you get from your basic character creation. So you can use things like flaws, ideals, personality traits, and bonds. You can build it just like that, just like your normal characters with your NPC. Same sort of principle, you're just making notes, single words usually. So once I've got that, my next section is my encounters, or my scenes. I usually have between 5 and 6 scenes that I'll make up, and those scenes can consist of a number of different things. They might be combat, or it might be a social interaction that I expect will take place. It might be an event that takes place that they might see or can interact with. It could be a skill check, just a single dice roll that somebody has to make, or the group has to make. It might be a group skill check that has to be performed. It might be a hazard. It could be a trap. It could be a secret that they can find. Or it could be a skill challenge. I often pull from Dungeons & Dragons 4E and the concept of the skill challenge. The skill challenge is simply a collection of skill checks that are related to each other to perform a task and complete an objective. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the skill challenge, but it's a really good technique for dealing with action scenes. I don't like skill challenges for social interactions. I feel like a whole lot of dice rolls for a social interaction is a bit, yeah, I don't like it. It's a bit hokey. I feel like I feel like if you're gonna interact, just talk. That's me anyway. So that's how I break up my encounters. And when I come to sort of something like combat, I will literally just write down what creatures are there in that location or for that combat, and what page I need to look on in my monster manual, or my bestiary, or whatever it is I'm using. Next, treasure is the last section, and I will put down and make a note of where the treasure and what the treasure is, where it's located. This is note form, so I don't write down a big blurb about what this magic item does. That would be additional information, whether I pull it from the Dungeon Master's Guide or some other adventure book, or some other location. It doesn't matter, but usually it's just in note form. And then I just pack everything up, my pens, my paper, my notes, my dice, all this. I mean, I've already talked about the DM kit, you know, what sort of gear you take. I pack all that up in my bag, and then usually I also have a map. I usually have a map that I've either picked out from the web, or that I've pulled out of my Dungeon Master case, because I have a lot of pre-made adventure maps. People probably already know because of all the videos that I do. And I'll select that. That's going to be my map for that particular location. Now I might have one map, I might have multiple maps. It really depends on the situation. Or I will draw a map. And I've done videos on how to draw a map in about 5 minutes. I mean, obviously you can do a better job by taking longer, but it's essentially what I tend to do is that's how I build it. So that's really the gist of it. Now, if you have questions about quick preparation or advice that I might not have covered, by all means, we can talk about it after the live stream. Now, when I wrap up for this, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to stay online so people can ask questions and give feedback. But if you want to watch this later on and you're not part of the live stream, in the comments, just make a comment, ask the questions there. And also too, if you have anything that you feel I left out, something you would like to share with the community in terms of how to quickly prepare for their games, it would be very helpful to somebody, particularly if I haven't covered it right now. So that's the gist of it. Now, if you want to support my channel so that I keep doing this sort of thing, watching the videos is great. But as I've said before, YouTube tends to demonetize and classify things as not suitable for all advertisers. And I seem to get that quite a lot in my videos. I don't know why. I am trying to stay away from keywords that the bot picks up on, but they tend to keep making it happen, and I don't understand why. If you want to support me, you will find down in the description an affiliate link. Now, it might be Amazon, it might be the book depository, it might be some other location. If you buy things online and you want to support me, that's the best way to support me, okay? You don't pay anything extra. You pay the same listed price when you buy something online, but I get a small commission for suggesting that you go to that site to buy something. In this case, it doesn't really matter. In fact, if I have a list of stuff below there, you know, you don't have to buy that stuff. You can go to your game store. I'm fine with that too. It's up to you. Hey, and let's just sign off there. Till next time, keep rolling those 20s. All right, we're open for questions. Nobody said very much. I'm assuming because they were listening, but I'm going to stay online for a little while and answer whatever questions I can. And then after that, I'm going to let my voice have a rest. As you can hear, tell, I'm already starting to lose it. I've only been talking for about 17 minutes. How did that happen? So yeah, I will answer questions about quick preparation or anything else. If it's something that I can't answer because I need time to prepare for it and do a bit of research, you'll have to excuse me. I don't know the answer to absolutely every question that somebody might ask me, but I will certainly do my best. Okay. Well, so far, no questions. I'm pretty sure the chat is open. Looks like most people are heading off. Also, too, once I've finished this particular live stream and answered any questions people have, I will take a small break, I don't know, maybe half an hour, and then I'm going to come back online, and we're going to finish, well, I'm not going to finish, I know I'm not going to finish it. It's probably going to take another 2 sessions, but I'm going to continue the video, which is making the Oculo swarm. It's dry now, so I can do the next step, which is awesome. So that's my plan, is I will live stream in, I don't know, an hour, half an hour from now, and I'll continue making that particular miniature. I feel really bad that I've done a whole lot of videos on where to buy cheap official Dungeons & Dragons videos, miniatures. You know, where do you find those cheap miniatures for Dungeons & Dragons, the official ones? And now the price has gone up quite a lot. The demand went up. The video did really well, the new one I just put out. But the cost is a lot more. I mean, it's still the cheapest way. So I'm probably going to do a lot of videos where we just make the miniatures. And I'm going to try to do it in such a way that anybody can do it. You don't have to be like a brain surgeon or an expert artist. I'm not anything like that. Clearly not a brain surgeon. But I can do a little bit of molding and so forth. And also too, I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple. I'm also going to do all of these live stream. One of the things I noticed is there's a lot of live stream content on YouTube, and there's more live stream stuff for Dungeons and Dragons than there has been ever. But I think that this channel is going to push more for live stream. I will still do the pre-recorded videos, but I think that live stream is probably one of the better forums because one, it gives you an opportunity to interact with me. So far we haven't had any questions regarding dungeon mastering or quick preparation or anything like that. So we're going to wrap it up very shortly if nobody else has anything to say. Otherwise I'm just sitting here talking and drinking water. It's not very exciting. Okay, we're into 20 minutes. So I'm going to stop here. I will go and put the tags and the description and all the information for this video on it, and hopefully find a decent thumbnail. Come back and I'll run the next live stream as soon as I possibly can. So I would say, as I said, I should be back in about half an hour to an hour. That should take me, it'll take me about that long to get everything done. So I'll see you later.